it's Lisa. I'm getting some new product in, so I need to make space for that, and that means emptying out some of my drawers. I always store my paper collections, if I have 12 by 12 papers and embellishments, in the Sterilite drawers. There are 3 of them in a stack. I have bought mine at Walmart and Hobby Lobby. So I've got quite a few of these, and I labeled the collection with whatever the name of it is and kind of something to indicate the colors that are in the collection. This was Persimmon by Basic Gray, and I ended up throwing in some other fall stuff from Imaginess, and there's some Authentique. So it's basically just sort of become my fall paper drawer. I don't tend to buy a lot of fall paper. I love it. I just don't take a lot of fall photos. It just always seems, we used to do a lot of hiking, and for various reasons we haven't been doing that as much in recent years. This year we did take a hike up in the mountains in an area, or a walk I should say, in an area that we particularly love, and I have some really pretty photos. So I was going through trying to find drawers to kind of clean out. This one didn't have much left in it. I had some fall photos, so it looked like a good opportunity to make one last layout with these before I break these papers down and sort them in other drawers by color. The one full 12 by 12 sheet that I had is this one from the Persimmon collection. It's got a pretty stripe on the back, but I really like this blue because I just got such pretty blue sky on the day that we were there, and I took these pictures with my phone, and they came out, those tend to come out a little brighter than my regular camera. I can't always get the detail. The focus is good. It's not an expensive smartphone by any means, but I do get some very bright pictures. So that I thought looked really good with this blue pattern in the background. I want to use some other papers out of that. We'll get to those in a moment. Another thing that I had in here and that I bought at the same time from Basic Gray were these wooden cards, and there were several of them. Well, there were about 3 of them left, not that many. But this one, the autumn one, I still had, and I thought that would be a good title. So I could just add a little bit more to the title and use that for my title block. Here's my sketch. We're going to have an embellishment here, and then do some strips and borders down here at the bottom and leave some more of that pretty blue paper to show. For journaling, I've got this space in here below the swan, or goose, or whatever that little critter is. Looks like a swan. But I think it's a swan. And I can just fill that in with the journaling. So let's look at some papers. This came with this particular collection, so I'm really partial to it as a stripe. But I have some other things. This one is not bad. To me, though, the scale on this is very small compared to this one, and my photos being 4 by 6s and being a little bit larger in scale, a little bit larger elements, the trees and the swan that I'm trying to focus on, I think that this is just a little bit too detailed a print. So I don't think I'm going to use that. So here's another stripe. This is from Authentique. This would work, but I really like this better because it doesn't have any of the white in it. Now, also that went with the Persimmon collection was this paper, and I've used this a few times in other layouts where I've cut the design out, so I think that might make a nice border. Here's one I could splice and turn it into a border. Some more blue, don't think so. Oh. Could make a pretty border out of that. Anything else? These again spliced, and I even had some cardstock that I bought to go with this, but everything else that's left is just scraps. So let's see what we can do here. In my sketch I drew 2 layers of border. I want to use this, and I need another stripe. I'm going to take this and just split it and then have it go off the other end over here. Or I kind of like the polka dots. You know, I like the polka dots because I think they're kind of fun. So let's do those, and we'll just put the rest of this away. I'll go ahead and start trimming here. And actually this one I have already got it trimmed out from the last time I used it, so I'm just going to take it to the paper trimmer and cut it directly across there. And I'll probably ink the edges or something. Then this one, all I need to do is just take a strip of it and cut it so that it gets hidden behind the photos here when I glue everything down. Now the other thing I have to decide on are my embellishments. Slip that there. Let's go ahead and trim this one down. Where's my sketch? So on my sketch, this is 3/4 of an inch or 1.5 inches. Just take everything and double it, so it's going to be 1.5 inches of this paper. I'm going to go ahead. Not gluing down, just kind of seeing how it's all coming together. Let's see what we have for these embellishments. I have this set of trees that I got. They're Kaisercraft. I got them at the same time I got this collection. I love them, but I haven't found just the right layout for them. And I only need 2 embellishments here, so I kind of hate to waste the trees on that. So I think I'm going to save those for another project. I do have some leaves. I have some more trees. These are Maya Road. They're chipboard. And the way these work is you have a tree that looks like this. But again, scale kind of bothers me. I think this is a little bit small. I also think it's a little bit stylized to go with that. So I'm not as thrilled with those, even though I love those trees. I'm thinking about these big leaves. I had just a couple of these left from some old chipboard. Probably put that way. Something like that. So I think that may be all. My goal with this is just to have a pretty page. I don't really have a big story here other than it was just a nice day to take a walk and I want to capture my pictures. So usually I have a story and I want everything to sort of support the story, but all I really am looking for is a pretty page for a pretty day. So that's what I'm going to try to get here. So I think I'm going to do these two, and I need to add some color to them. It's the weekend. I want to play with my jelly plate, so let's see what we can do with the jelly plate with these. I'm working with one of the jelly plate minis. These come in packs of 3 with different design or different shapes. This one is a square. It's 3 inches square. I just really need something to cover the shapes that I'm using, and I want to do a little experimenting, so I picked up a piece of just plain chipboard, square chipboard there, some small scale stencils, a little craft paint, a little distress paint, a little bit of artist paint. I just went with colors, so it was what worked well with colors. However, I do want something fairly opaque, so that's one of the reasons why I was starting with this craft paint, so it'll get some very good coverage. I'm testing it out on my square, and I really like that just by itself without any more colors or layers or anything to it. But I think we can do even more with it. So this is some distress paint. I'm going to have to put the color on the screen for you because I can't remember what it's called. It was one of the colors from last year where they did a color a month. It's beautiful gold. I didn't buy all of those. I just bought 2 or 3 that I liked. So that gave me some nice additional color and design, and so I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of that to my leaves. You could use any size jelly plate. I just used the minis because I had them and I didn't need something very big. But this is the first time I've really sort of applied color to chipboard with the jelly plate, and I'm really loving it. It's very fast, it's very even color, you get lots of design with it, and you don't have a super thick layer of paint. It dries fast. So I really like this. The only thing you don't get is color around the edge, but we're going to deal with the edge later. I really thought I wasn't going to do anything to the edge, but what I'm going to find is that I will need to darken the edge a little bit to make the show on the designer paper. A little more pattern. Now there's one last thing that I'd like to do. I'd like to add a little bit more distinct pattern because I've got some very pretty tone-on-tone kind of looks with the leaves at this point. This is metallic copper paint, just a copper color in plain old craft paint. A little more expensive than your regular craft paint, but not by a lot. And I'm using a stencil with flourishes. This happened to be one from Michael's a long time ago. I don't know that they carry this. They have these in the scrapbooking area. I don't think it's a regular product from them. But anything that has a design like a swirl or something that's kind of a small print design would work for this. And I'm just, stamping essentially a little bit of the copper design onto my chipboard. And I got a really pretty finish there. Now, what I'm finding is, though, they're not dark enough to show up on that striped paper, so I'm just adding a little bit of Vintage Photo Distress ink to the edges of them. I am not planning to cover these with Mod Podge or anything like that, so the Vintage Photo, which would run if I were, or move on me if I were adding some other layer on top of it, is fine as the final layer. And that's how they looked. So I'm going to show you some close-ups of those. Really pleased with the finish of those. And I've glued down my strips. I printed my journaling on a piece of 6x6 tone-on-tone kind of paper. A lot of your 6x6 pads will have some solids or just really simple tone-on-tone kind of papers. In this case, it looked like a slightly distressed piece of gold paper. Those are great for journaling. They'll run through your printer and then they'll match up to your collections, or in this case just add a little bit of color there rather than printing on white. I decided I wanted a matte behind those two photos at the top, and surprisingly I went with another stripe. It's a more smaller scale stripe, it's a little more subtle, and it kind of gives a finish to the top of this page as well. I ended up cutting this thing down a couple of times before I got it small enough to suit me. Now for my title, I'm going to use the word on the card, autumn, and then I'm going to use the location where we were as part of the rest of the title. And these are some little jelly bean soup stickers, and I'm pretty sure I bought them when I bought this collection, even though I didn't store them with the collection. I bought all this stuff when we were vacationing in Detroit, and there was a great scrapbook store there, Scrappy Chic, I think is the name of it. Wonderful store, and I just stayed in there for ages looking at stuff, and I bought a bunch of things, and this was one of the things that I bought. And I'm gluing these, they've got some sticky on them, but not enough, especially for this wood, so I glued them on with some Zig marker. And then I'm putting the whole thing on with pop dots. These are Stampin' Up's Dimensionals. You could hot glue it on. And I glued the chipboard on with Tombow adhesive. But I felt like it needed just a little bit more, so I'm looking for some words. I went through my word stickers and I just didn't have anything that I liked, but I did find some chipboard stickers that I or chipboard pieces that I kind of liked here to finish out the words. And then I also had a little acorn, so I'm adding that. And we'll glue that on with the Tombow as well. And this is going to wrap up our page. So with the addition of this mat, we step pretty closely to the sketch. I really like how the leaves came out with the different layers of paint, and this metallic paint glows a bit, especially in the late evening. So we got to make a pretty page from what was left of the Persimmon collection from Basic Gray. Thanks so much for watching. If you like sketches, be sure and check out my sketchbooks. You can find the link for this page, and that'll take you over to my blog, and you get more information about the 2013, 14, and 15 sketchbooks with lots of sketches, everything to scale with measurements, swaps and suggestions, links back to the process videos. Of course, this particular sketch won't be available till next year, but there are 52 sketches for for each of the first 2 years, and then 40 sketches for last year. So a lot of scrapbook sketches to make things go faster and easier for you. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed it.